It's not like the news media. You can't respond immediately. You need time to distill. And it's not a literal response. It's symbolic response, right? You kind of refract, distort the story before it makes any sense, and you translate, you interpret. So Apa was the name of the festival, which could mean what is Apa, Apa, or Apa. Anything also, you know, anything goes, whatever also can. And that was kind of one response of the artists. In terms of young people, a group of A-level students, I think, was perhaps most visibly affected by this. They were doing A-levels with a particular educator, Mohan Ambigayapaka, who was teaching literature, Taylor's College. So privileged kids, you gotta be privileged to be in A-level college. And they didn't know what on earth was going on the streets. They had no idea. They felt that we don't know this country that we are supposedly living in and belong to. And Mohan encouraged them to go and, you know, see what was happening at demonstrations, read the multiple media, alternative media. And after a while, they started creating work to respond to it, theatrically and in writing. So they became, after being Article 19, they became Action, which again, it sounds like A-C-T-I-O-N, but the spelling is A-K-S-H-E-N, which has another kind of meaning as well. Action, you're very action means you're very pretentious, like you're very sombong, you know, you show off a lot, no? And it could also be a kind of way of saying action, but I think these young people were aware that coming from privileged backgrounds, commenting on the political scene did raise certain ironies. Likewise, Apa was largely English language theatre, largely people who were relatively comfortable raising these concerns, albeit within a small space, but, you know, what was the meaning of it? So there was a response to Reformasi in the arts community, young people and older people. And I think the main thing for me was asking the question, how do we relate to this entity called a state afresh, anew? How do we review it? What does it mean as an individual and as a community?
Oh, thank you, Charlene. And Charlene's been living in Singapore for 8 years. And her book is coming out next month. It's called Taxi Tales on a Crooked Bridge. It's inspired by her conversations with Singapore taxi drivers. So we look forward to that launch.
Published by Amit.
Yeah, that's why I'm plugging it. Yeah. But I didn't publish his book, so I didn't do anything but plugging it. Yeah. So on to Malaysian Gods. It started as what usually happens to me. I was very much creatively inspired by a KL traffic jam. I was one day stuck in, if you know KL, there's an area called Dataran Merdeka. I was one day stuck in a traffic jam there, and then it just occurred to me that, you know, I've been in this area for literally over 1,000 times, because I'm from KL. So, and suddenly all around me I had this memory, this flashback of a big demonstration with Anwar talking, Wan Azizah talking, maybe Gita and all that. And I was so excited. Oh my gosh, it's like one of those CGI moments. It's like suddenly people started appearing everywhere. And of course, not of course, but ironically enough, it was a false memory because I was not there. I was in Singapore. I was working in Singapore for this TV company that fortunately has now gone bankrupt. And I remember reading about the first few days of protests in the newspaper. And there was their report on the 20th September, I still remember, because it came out the next day, 21st September, and the headline was, "All Hell Broke Loose." And I thought, oh, so exciting. KL was so exciting all of a sudden. So when I was stuck in this traffic jam last year, so I thought of doing something to commemorate this 10-year anniversary. So I started speaking to people who took part. But then after a while, I kind of threw that all away and did something entirely different, which is go through several pivotal demonstrations in that first year of protests, meaning September to September, and speak to people who are there. Sometimes they're talking about the event directly, sometimes not so directly. But either way, I found it quite telling. And so that's how this project called Malaysian Gods started, and most of it is shot in the rain because I think KL looks very nice in the rain. It's all in one language because I think the credit for the last general elections as well has to be given to a certain movement that's associated with a certain minority group. So no matter what you may think of this group's immediate aims and methods, I think it did galvanize a lot of people from larger groups to thinking that, you know, these are people who have much more to lose and they're willing to go out there. So what more the rest of the population. So that's how Malaysian Gods came about. We sent it to the Malaysian Censorship Board, which is a very funny story in itself. And the good news is that it's passed without cuts, and the bad news is that I'm not allowed to show it. Both boxes are tick, Lulu's passed without cuts, not allowed to show. So they're getting clever, I think, because they know I can't get any more cheap publicity by saying, oh, I've been banned. But at the same time, I cannot show it. But they mean cannot show it officially. So, you know, we've been showing it in college campuses, several. In fact, there are 2 more next week. And we're launching the DVD and all next month. So that's how it came about. Normally, there will be a Q&A, but there's no space for questions after this. But please speak to me in the lobby. But if you have questions now to any of us, we can take some. Yes?
Do I need a mic? Okay, my name is Ace here. By the way, what is the challenges that you face when you film this film, and how long did it take for you to do this film? And how do you overcome the challenges that you face during the making of this film? Thank you.
See, Jasmine said Singaporeans would ask the budget. See, they didn't. So, yes. Well, who did? Someone else. Actually, it was very easy to make because I've been doing this kind of thing for some time, and I have a group of friends who were doing it. So, they're all people I've worked with before. So, it was ridiculously easy. It took 5 days to shoot. And we had a lot of fun doing it. I don't think there were any major challenges at all. It was very smooth. It's kind of embarrassing. Right? Normally you have to come up with that to sell my blood to to get the Singapore Film Council to give me money. But no, I honestly can't think of many. Traffic jam lah, maybe. Because shot in the rain, so sometimes traffic jam. Other than that, no lah. It's all very easy.
What about the budget? How much?
Budget is 25,000 ringgit. We spent on the poster. Our poster is very nice but the design of the poster is so nice. We spent a lot on it and we can't afford to print it. So you can see on the website poster very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any more? Yeah. Oh, Singapore Film Festival has always been important. Yeah, that's important because you make money from them, and you know it gets exposure and that kind of thing. But I think I think it's increasingly it's very silly when Asian filmmakers in particular are so desperate to get into European festivals. It becomes very embarrassing. So for this, I made it a point to premiere it in Asia, even though there was other interest from other places. And I think we really should start doing things like that, because at the end of the day, your flavor of the month somewhere else, and they'll find someone else. So I know people who've been doing this long enough that after a while it becomes more and more difficult for them to make films, because it all has to depend on which festival it gets into and all that. But so I think why do that to yourself? Ironically, these are often called independent filmmakers, whereas I think someone who makes a schlock comedy that sells well in his own country, you end up being more financially independent than the other type. So, but Singapore Festival is very important because we used to stay in a hotel that had a swimming pool. So it's like, ooh. Back in the Reformasi era. But even minus the swimming pool at the Western Stanford, it's always been a very good, friendly place for. I've met so many friends here from Southeast Asia, and we've formed very good ties. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be, oh, come meet a white curator. Even before that, yeah, it's like.